Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we welcome Krista Williams and Lindsey Simsick, the powerhouse duo behind the Almost 30 podcast, which has received over 100 million downloads around the world to date, and authors of the new book, Almost 30, a definitive guide to a life you love for the next decade and beyond, who are here to have a conversation with us today about dating advice I wish I knew. We open with the interplay between change and fear and how we can navigate the space of change and life's experiences without holding ourselves back or self-sabotaging. We then explore hyperindividualism and codependency in dating and relationships, how each manifests, and what we can do if we fall into these dynamics. But that's not all. We're going to talk about the duality of loneliness and healing, self-love, and how to find the right balance between just enough and feeling like it's never enough. And if you're dating the men's but can't kind of stand them either, just a little bit, we'll hear how to begin reframing relationships with men. All right, Flirties, if you're ready for a heartfelt and transformative episode, this one, well, it's for you. Now let's meet Krista and Lindsey.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, up for discussion on the show today is dating advice I wish I knew with Krista and Lindsey, founders, authors, and co-hosts of the popular Almost 30 podcast, which has been downloaded over 100 million times around the world. Their new book, Almost 30, a definitive guide to a life you love for the next decade and beyond, out June 3rd. Krista and Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. We're so excited.
I'm ready to talk to the Flirties. I'm ready to I'm ready for this whole thing. I don't really want to talk about anything but dating right now, so I'm logged on.
Oh my gosh. That is what is coming up for the Flirties today. Dating advice I wish I knew. Of course, they came through with so many good questions. Before we get started, though, I want to get into the origin story, a little bit of Almost 30 and how that project, that podcast came to be. Yes, Krista.
Yeah, Almost 30 started on our closet floors. Lindsey and I were best friends. We had just met actually, but we felt this really deep connection because of how lost we felt. We were in our late 20s. We were around 26 or 27 when we met, and we just weren't feeling fulfilled with life. We felt like we had done everything everyone told us to do. We got jobs, we lived in cities, we had friends, but we weren't fulfilled and we felt super lost. And Lindsey was single. She had been single for a while now after ending a relationship with someone that was really significant. And I was in a long-term relationship with someone that eventually ended up being my husband. And we were just like, there has to be more to life. And so we wanted to start a creative project. And I was like, let's just start a podcast. Let's talk about it. You know, I'm at my miserable corporate job. You're at your job you don't like. And let's see what happens. And from, you know, the conversations on our closet floors, it just grew into a community, grew into a brand and a business. And that wasn't just out of accident or luck. Like, we very intentionally built the business alongside of it. But it really was with the intention to go from feeling lost to living a life that we loved. And that didn't have to be perfect, but we wanted it to feel like us.
Wow. I love that already so much because I've been playing with this theme on Flirtations recently of I think so many of the Flirties are in this space of change, of contemplating maybe what comes next. It could be in their career, their education, their relationships, where they're like, wait a second, I did the things, I checked the boxes, and now I have this life where maybe I'm feeling okay, there's some fulfillment, but I want more, I desire more. Or maybe I'm realizing like this is what was true for me. I had a whole 9-to-5 job before the flirt coach became a thing, before Flirtations became a thing. I was a city planner for over 10 years. And I say I wasn't on the wrong path, but I wasn't on the right one anymore. And it was like, what comes next? What happens when I ask myself, Benjamin, like, what kind of life do you want for yourself?
Yeah. And I think what was so powerful about our late 20s is, so in your late 20s, it's your Saturn return period. And that's when the planet Saturn hits your natal chart where you were when you were born. And it really brings everything up for evaluation. So for you, it's like, do I want to be a city planner? No. What is my truth? What does my soul want me to do? And it's also like your prefrontal cortex is coming online. You're like actually becoming conscious as an adult of like, yo, I'm living in this job. I'm doing this thing. I did everything everyone said and I'm not happy. Yeah. And so the path when we're kind of really being like, what do I actually want? Who do I actually want to be is so scary and can feel so overwhelming. But we wanted the book and we just want any of our work to be like, this can be the best thing ever. Like it can be the most beautiful thing. It's the land of possibilities and potential. And like, you would have probably never known 5 years ago that you had this potential job and career that is you being yourself, that is you and your power, you and your natural radiance. And now it can be a thing. And I think for so many people, they want to have that where they can be themselves. They can feel fulfilled. They can feel like they're living on purpose. And I know how painful it is to feel like you're not on purpose. You know, that was most of my life. And so the support we can provide people is really the goal.
Yeah. And I think people get confused about what being on purpose or what being on your path really means. And I think what we've learned throughout the years is that you're always on your path. And what is actually your path is something that is ever changing. And when change happens, when we kind of feel this like rumbling within us of like, yeah, actually this person isn't the person I'm meant to be with. Or, you know, in your case, like I really want to be doing something else, something that feels like more me. We get scared of those feelings because what would it mean if I followed that feeling? What would it mean about my relationships? What would happen to them? What would it mean, you know, about where I'm living and what people expect of me? So many things are affected when that change kind of comes forward and like just asks you to look at it. And it's really, really scary. But this period in your late 20s especially kind of sets the tone for your relationship with change. At least that's what we found. And if you can kind of, you know, in so many ways through what we write about in the book, get in right relationship with change, you're going to be excited at these moments where it's like, okay, things are about to change. Okay. What do I know to be true? And what supports me through change, I think is essential. But it's so cool that you followed, you know, that feeling and have created just such a beautiful life and a beautiful world in which you help a lot of people and bring a lot of joy and pleasure to people. So it's really cool. It's a cool example for people to see.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We're going to stay here for just a moment because I love when fear comes up on the show. I think there's going to be some parallels as we get into the dating advice too, having some fear, some self-doubt, certainly in dating and relationships. But in this space of kind of personal growth, evolution, transformation, change, like, I mean, I went through all the iterations of, I can't do this. It'll never work. I'm not good enough, right? Like, just give it up. You don't have what it takes. You're comparing yourself to it. Certainly I had that imposter syndrome going through this journey and I still have it. But I love what you said just a moment ago, Lindsey. It's like this energy of fear is it's almost parallel to that of excitement, right? And so if we can just subtly shift our energy or our mindset or our perspective and tap more into the energy of excitement, right? Like joy, love, all that good stuff, it's just going to make the whole process a lot easier. But speaking to the experience of fear and change a little bit, I'd love to hear more about maybe how that came up in your almost 30 journey, writing the book. Yeah,
the book has been a whole journey for me. I mean, it's so funny how like when you have to take your own medicine, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm like, growth edges are good. And then I get up against one and I'm like, I'm pissed off. I'm mad. I'm shutting down. I'm napping. I'm overeating. Like, it's like I was witnessing myself. You know, I was in New York like 2 weeks ago for press with Lindsey, and on the way there on the flight, I was unwell. I was in the bathroom crying. I was like, I hate this. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even like doing it. You know, just all of the thoughts and the feelings. And I think what's different about how I handle that today and versus back then is back then I made that my truth, where I was like, nope, I don't want to do this. This isn't what I like. This is, this isn't meant for me, da, 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 da. And now because of the work that I've done with parts work or just in therapy, it's like, I can see that fear and I can pull it apart from me and I can feel the fear and do it anyways. I can be like, actually that fear, like I respect the fear. It's teaching me a lot. It's helping me be more prepared. It's helping me be more ready. It's helping me regulate, but it's also a good thing. Like now I know when I meet that fear or like those uncomfortable feelings, I'm actually on the right track. And the stronger I've been in my constitution to meet that and just continue, it's been the best. But it just comes up, I was watching just a quick story. I was watching the Kardashians the other day, like my regulation tool, me and my besties. And, Khloe Kardashian has a podcast that she has out in this season. It's the most boring season ever, but the podcast is coming out. And I was watching her be so nervous to put out a podcast. She's like, I don't know if people are going to like it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm like, you have so much money, so much fame, guaranteed success, all of the resources. And yet you are so scared to do this thing, to put yourself out there, even though you've done other things. And it struck me that even the people that are the most successful or the most visible or whatever still have the growth edges of fear and still get scared to put themselves out there. And I was like, you know what? If I'm fearful at this level, like imagine when I'm even bigger, like there's even bigger risk. There's more eyes, there's more whatever. And so we have to be able to meet our fear where we're at and kind of push ourselves outside of the bounds of where we are to be able to live the life that we want, because the life that we want is usually on the other side of that fear.
Yeah, that is so true.
But it's not fun. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
I've had to like rework that relationship with fear too. I write about this in the book. Someone shared this with me. It was a friend, so I couldn't like quite quote them in the book, but they shared with me, fear is false evidence appearing real. And so every time I get scared, I'm like, okay, what am I believing that's not true? And Byron Katie talks about this, where you in her process, you established what is absolutely true. Yeah. And so it's helped me, like Krista said, to kind of just like parse this experience of fear into like kind of different categories. What is actually true about this? That is like a real fear and I can acknowledge and just kind of embrace and be with her. And then what part of this is like absolutely not true? This is my mind like making a mess out of, almost nothing. And what about this like could be, a growth edge? And so it's helped me to kind of like put it in different buckets, but I definitely have had to get in right relationship, not only with change, but with my mind during this process, because I just realized how, I mean, even to this day, honestly, I was like having a conversation this morning with myself where I'm like, yo, your mind can go so far and you believe it right away. It's just kind of this really cool aspect of being human, and also one that we really have to notice when the mind is, making us fearful, overseeing things through like a lens of love or just possibility. Because oftentimes it does want to like not purposely take away your joy, but it just wants to keep you safe. And sometimes that means take you away from something that's potentially joyful.
Yeah, this is all so good. You mentioned two things that have really helped me, where Krista, fear being a teacher, and I've really adapted that mindset as well. And then Lindsey, meeting fear with compassion, because if we have to recognize that our fear, like, the classic example of you're in the woods or the jungle running from a tiger or something like that. Well, yeah, fear has a very real purpose of keeping us safe. But when we're having that experience in our everyday lives, if you're, I don't know, in traffic and someone slams on their car horn, reasonable, you're going to have, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's wrong? You're now in a state of high alert. But just living your day-to-day life, you're going to hit record for a podcast, or you're going on a date, something like that. But if we can meet it with compassion, see it for what it is, see through it a little bit. I sometimes have worked with this idea that fear is oftentimes an illusion. So if we can see through the story, look at the truth of maybe what our fear is trying to tell us or offer us or teach us. And a phrase that I've worked with, like, if I ever get a tattoo, it's going to be this. It's from Billie Jean King, right? Tennis champion, Grand Slam legend, pressure is a privilege. And I think about, like, I grew up watching so much tennis, and I would think about watching anyone go up to the line to serve, right? Championship point up or championship point down, right? They're just trying to stay in the match. How do they do that? How are they not completely overwhelmed with nerves and fear? How do they not just completely freeze up? And that pressure is a privilege. It's like, oh, wait a second. Billie Jean King, she wants to be there. She practiced. She's prepared. That's where she's supposed to be. So when she's there, it's not an accident. And so it's that shift from fear, almost paralysis, nervous system overwhelm to, wait a second, this is where I want to be. I'm excited to be here. I want to be here. And that is the mindset shift I have to make every single time I go to hit record for Flirtations, as if I was not nervous to have almost 30 on what? That's insane.
It's funny though, because you're always at the right place at the right time. You know, I have, and not even saying that because of us, like obviously we're like not anything about us, but it's like, we've always in podcasting early on, we pitch big guests and we're like, oh, we want this person on, we want this person on. They're like, no, what are you talking about? You guys are like insane. You guys aren't even saying anything. You've podcasted for like an hour. Like what? And so we were like, oh no, this like sucks. But then as we've kind of metabolized in the process, like we always are meeting the right people and at the right place at the right time for what we have capacity for.
Yes.
And if we would have been in bigger rooms or on bigger stages or in bigger interviews with people, we wouldn't have been able to perform, to be present. And it actually would have done us a detriment rather than a service. And so what I've had to trust, and even for your listeners, it's like trusting that like, if you can meet this moment and win or succeed or meet your failure and get through it, you will be put in the bigger opportunities in the moments when you're ready. Because this is why people who win the lottery lose everything. They can't metabolize or have capacity to hold that much. And we are really given what we're able to hold. So it's really just about small steps of expanding your capacity for what's possible.
I love that.
I'm so proud of you. That's amazing. You just paving your own way. That's huge.
I mean, here we are. I'm just in my 1-bedroom apartment in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, recording at my kitchen counter. Like, what am I going to do? Wait for the studio? I can't do that.
Yes.
Wait for the production.
Honestly, studios are overrated. We were in the closet for 2 years. We were at Lindsey's kitchen table for 2 years. Like, it doesn't matter. Most of the people, a lot of people that I know, our friend Jenna Kutcher, who has a huge podcast, she was recording on her phone in her car because her kids are loud. Like our friend Danielle Laporte records on her phone in her car. Like you actually have everything that you need. It's more so about consistency, authenticity. Like it's not even about having the equipment or the set. Like, no.
Yeah. I took the first step and got ready in the process. Delulu is the Salulu. It's right there in the theme song for Flirtations. If you're just delusional enough, I think anything is possible. How about some dating?
Let's do it.
I loved opening the conversation talking about change and fear because these are two big things that are probably going to come up in dating as well. But specific, yes, to dating, things I wish I knew. I think opening with a pretty, somewhat general question, but maybe some shifts and changes you made from your 20s versus your 30s, some shifts and changes you made. Yeah, some things you wish you knew, some changes and shifts you made.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, how long do you have? Well, as Krista shared in the beginning, we have had kind of these really interesting paths and kind of opposite at points where, I started out the podcast on this, I was kind of like catapulted into a single season after blowing up a relationship that I thought would be my person. And I was single for about 7 years. And at the time, Krista was in a committed relationship, a long-term committed relationship. And so I'm curious what she thought of me when I was dating back then. But what I think was like the unlock for me happened in therapy, where I realized my point of attraction, why I was attracted to and attracting these particular men who I'll describe for you briefly, who were kind of the type that would like only text you at like 10 or 11 p.m. Really only when they had time or they had interest. It was very like physical forward, where there was, a lot of that like physical chemistry, connection, sex. That was kind of heavy rather than like the deep emotional connection. And in therapy, I was like complaining about these guys where I'm like, these guys are assholes. Like, I don't get it. And obviously in therapy, they flip it on you. They're not going to like psychoanalyze the guy necessarily. And I realized that I was attracting from this somewhat lack of self-worth where, I think for me, I wanted to keep people at a distance and keep it kind of like surface and safe in my eyes so that I didn't have to like really grow and step into the person that I was meant to be in relationship. I like to be like, I'm a great girlfriend. I'll make your dinner and I'll fold your clothes and I'm amazing. And I'll like be the best like partner in bed and blah, blah, blah. But when it came to like really getting down to what it means to be in a healthy, deep relationship, I was like, I don't think I'm worthy of that. And I don't think I'm capable of that, was my subconscious belief. And so when we started to like really pick that apart gently and, work through kind of where that came from, I started to attract different people. They came in different packages, which surprised me, but it was beautiful. I was like, wow, okay. This person is showing me what like incredibly healthy communication looks like. And this person is showing me what I desire in, someone's relationship with their work and purpose. So it was just a wild unlock for me that really could probably only happen in therapy. And, in my relationship with Krista, we would like talk about these things all the time. But until we became conscious to those things, like we were still just like complaining about the other people.
I get that completely. What about you, Krista?
Yeah. So for me, I was in a long-term relationship. So we were together for 10 years. And before that, I was in a 4-year relationship, and I've always just been a relationship person. It's like been my pattern. So I never really dated. And so after my marriage ended, we ended up getting married. My marriage ended like 2 years ago. And I've learned, 10 years of being together, you learn so much. And it's so funny because when you're in long-term relationships, you're like, what was wrong? And you're like, how? I don't know. You know what I mean? You're like 100 things, everything, nothing. It's like, there's so much lessons to be learned. But I think the one thing that I took from that relationship that I really learned was that the codependency, codependency was such a theme for me. And I'll never forget when Lindsey started going to therapy first, she was like, I'm working on my codependency. I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. She's codependent. I was like, I'm hyper independent and like did not see my own. I was so deep in it, which for me basically means I'm prioritizing someone else's experience over my own, someone else's approval of me over my own. I'm choosing that attachment to someone over authenticity and over my expression. And so I really lost myself in that relationship. I lost my voice. I lost my power. I lost my purpose. I lost what I felt like came here to do. And so when I finally got the courage to leave that relationship and now be dating and single, it's just been the biggest pleasure. Like I am in so deep reverence and love and pride with myself and the decisions that I've made that I meet men that are amazing and incredible. And also the reason why I meet amazing men is because I've healed my relationship with men where I see men as amazing. I see them as valuable. I treat them in all of these ways. And so it's been a beautiful process. It's not perfect. I've definitely had my moments where I'm like undone. I mean, Lindsey was my therapist for 30 minutes before we got on this call. So it's not perfect, but I'm choosing to have a mindset that like, this is beautiful. This is fun. Let's make it interesting.
Okay. I love that. We're going to come back to healing the maybe relationship with men in a moment, because I know a lot of the Flirties are dating the men's, myself included.
Yes.
And I hear this all the time.
What's your status right now? Where are you?
I am single.
Nice.
Yes. Single
So
and in and out of dating, as I've really I have to recognize how much I'm prioritizing my career and my friendships right now. And just with my work schedule, especially my schedule at the store and with podcasting, coaching, yoga, I work 7 days a week. And it's like, it's kind of annoying to people you date to be like, oh, well, I can pencil you in, right? Friday and 2 weeks from now. And so I like don't really want to be that guy, but I'm going on dates. But I relate to the experience of hyperindividualism more so than codependency, where I recognize I've been codependent in past relationships, but now I feel like I've kind of, the pendulum has swung in the other direction, where it's like, I don't need anyone. I'm not asking for help. Like that's a little bit of my dating experience now. And one of the things I wish I knew, or rather that I'm very much intentionally healing, is asking for help is not a sign of weakness, right? Or that I lack something. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of vulnerability. It's a sign, it's a bid for connection ultimately. Because when you're dating and you're looking to form relationships, if the other person doesn't feel like you need them or you want them, why would they want to be in a relationship with you?
Or it's not the right person, if they don't want to help you in that way. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because I think for me, how I would approach relationships was not asking for anything, because I wanted them to think I was perfect and that I was just giving. Like my friends would say, I was almost giving so much that it was like a wall. And I think a lot of women do that to be perceived as perfect, perceived as beautiful, to kind of win the man over. And then when you actually get deep in relationship and you do need from them because you're in committed partnership, the men are like, wait, what are you talking about? You never had needs. You didn't express wanting anything. Who is this person that now has a desire in relationship? So I think it's beautiful to bring that forward earlier on and be honest and be like, hey, I would love to receive connection from you, or love, or a hug, or, I'd love for support from you, because these people that are having intimate access to you deserve to be giving to you in ways that are outside of just sex or outside of just anything. And the more we can be communicative with that, the better, whether it's a friendship or romantic relationship. So I think it's so good, especially for someone that's as busy as you and as busy as all your audience, to be able to receive. But I think what's important is when we can be conscious of that. So I think what the difference is between sometimes when we're unconscious, we'll do weird bids for connection. We'll send like a nude picture. We'll do weird things. We'll just be weird, and we'll kind of poke at them and try and get in fights and stuff. And you're like, oh, I realized that I needed connection and I needed love and I needed attention. But when we're conscious and we're like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm tuning in right now and I'm so overwhelmed and I would love a hug. Like, how does that feel? And when we can give people the opportunity to show up in that way, it's so much better in relationship.
Yeah.
And I think, we all have that, masculine and feminine energy running through us. And I know it's been over talked about, but it is true. And I think that, that feminine need is so multidimensional, where we feel so much when we need. I don't know about you both, but it's it's not just this black and white, I need this. It's I'm having a whole experience, whether I'm well, this is too much. I'm asking for too much, or I wonder if they can give it, or will I be disappointed? It's all of these conversations, all of these, scenarios running through my head. It is the feeling is more than just the need. It's a deeper feeling. Yeah. And I think for me, it's been so important to not be afraid to express and not be afraid of what the answer is, because both are going to give you really important information. Because when you express and you know what that feels like to express your need and desire, oh my God, you'll never go back. It feels so good. And then, you'll also get information from the person on the other end. They might be just amazing and listen and communicative and actually give you what you need, or they might be confused, or they might ask a bunch of questions, or, they might have an experience with someone in their life that needed too much from them. And, you never know. Right. And you have to be okay with expressing your need, but not attached to how someone's going to receive it. And I think when you're in a committed relationship, this is one of the first foundational pieces that you work on. Where it's how do each of us express our desires and our needs? Is that in a particular container? Is that in the moment? What works for you? But all that to say, I just, to this day, sometimes feel so much when I need something. And I think that really points to, how I feel about, receiving, and how I feel my capacity is to like really not give when someone is giving to me, just actually lean back and receive.
What would you like to receive the most right now in like partnership or relationship? Like, what do you feel like you're like, oh, I would love to receive what?
For you, Benji.
Yeah, for you, Benji. Yes. I want to know what my man needs. What does my boy need right now?
What would I like to receive? It really comes down to consideration, but more so, I really want someone to understand and just really ask some of those deeper questions about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And really what my mission is, what my purpose is, what drives me. I even think a lot of friends and family they haven't even asked me those questions, right? And so like this isn't for clicks and views and like downloads necessarily. I mean, all those metrics very important because I want to grow the show. And of course, I want to grow my community. I want to grow the Flirties and see them all over the world, right? Go on tour and have a book and do workshops. And so it's views and downloads and just some of the numbers that are going to help get me there. So I recognize that part. But really, when it gets down to it, if I had to distill my whole mission into one word, it's connection. As someone that's felt disconnected from myself for so long, that's felt disconnected from others. I've talked about my mental health journey on Flirtations before with depression and anxiety and ADHD and just trying to navigate all of this with this hyper-individualist mindset of, I don't need anyone. I'm not asking for help, trying to do it all on my own. And ultimately, I want the Flirties to know that they don't have to do any of this on their own. In fact, they can't. They shouldn't. You got to do this in connection and community. And so I just hope to help people with their dating lives, their relationships, yes, with flirting, of course, but ultimately with the connection they have with themselves. And so what I really need to receive is for someone to just empathize with that, understand that. And when I am feeling overwhelmed and stressed, like just be like, what do you need, right? Do we need a movie night? Do we want to go out? Can I go pick up even cat food even? It can be like the little things, right? That all of a sudden when you're so busy becomes so overwhelming. So yeah, I think that's what I'm looking to receive.
I hear you. Cool. Funny as you get older, and Lindsey probably knows this even more. It's like, the consideration is like washing the dishes. You're like, It's like house chores is like consideration and support. But it's funny with the hyperindividualism because when I hear that, and I've had an aspect of my experience that's been like that too. For me, that's always like the girl that was let down, the girl that was disappointed, the part of me that never felt like she could have her needs met by parents. And so that hyperindividualism sometimes is that response. And when you were sharing about the experience of wanting your family to ask you about what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think for me, that's so relatable. I grew up in a small town in Ohio and I've never really felt like my parents understood me or saw me or understood what I was doing or who I was or all of these things. And a lot of that's really beautiful because it's allowed me to become who I am because I never felt like they kept me in a box because they didn't even know what the heck I was doing. Right. But there is a loneliness of wanting and desiring that connection and to be seen. And I think so many people in your audience can probably relate to that feeling of why won't people ask me questions? Like, why don't people want to know more and want to understand me more? And so, just honoring and reflecting how I relate.
And you're paving your own path. And I think to Krista's point, that can be really lonely. When you follow your heart and do something that, will become something and be impactful, it's lonely. It can be very lonely and it can disrupt a lot of, whether it's relationships or just kind of regular things in your day to day, because I think at the heart of it, people either are intimidated by what you might be doing, what you might be orchestrating in your life, or they just don't understand and then won't ask the questions because they don't understand.
Right.
So I just remember that feeling when we started the podcast, no one really understood. They're like, what's that radio show? How do you make money? It's like, we were just, and I've been at many, many, many times in my life. This is probably the first stint where I've had one quote job or thing I'm doing at once. But normally I was bartending, I was fit modeling, I was doing all the things, all very purposeful. But I can imagine people were looking at me like, you good?
Yeah.
What's happening over there? But what I think is happening though, and we're living in a time where this is becoming a bit more normal, a bit more of the way for people where we're not just putting ourselves into the box. We're not just choosing one career and sticking with it for our entire life. So just affirming it is lonely. And also like, that's what happens when you follow your heart and choose this path.
Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned loneliness. And I think this parallels to dating and relationships sometimes too. When we start to level up our standards, what we're looking for, we double down on self-love, or maybe we're getting to love ourselves for the first time. All of a sudden, what you may have, relationships, connections you may have formed before, all of a sudden it's this feeling of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You're feeling a little bit of maybe like guilt, shame, like, oh my gosh, I really did that. Or now you're recognizing, wait a second, I'm feeling a little bit lonely in this experience. And I think that's an interesting part of healing that doesn't get talked about a lot. And I definitely relate to that. Like, I'm just thinking of my shifts at the store at Trader Joe's when, I'm going on my dinner breaks and I'm going to my car to eat in my car by myself as I film videos to respond to comments. And like, what am I doing? I'm editing, right? I'm working. And then I see, other crew members there, at the picnic table. They're going to grab some pizza together. And sometimes I'm like, I would kind of like that. So I've given myself now Saturdays. Saturday is my night out. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you do so much, you have to part of inner child work is being like, okay, no, this is time for play and this is time to work, and kind of guiding yourself like, okay, well, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I don't have connection. Okay, Saturday's my night. I'm going to go out. Yeah. But Lindsey and I both relate to that. I always say the spiritual path, there's so much loneliness on the spiritual path. But for me, that's when God wants to speak to me. That's when I'm being sculpted, and that's when I'm being recalibrated to what's next and what's better for me. And if I would have known that earlier, I would be so much better off, because my periods of loneliness felt like I was doing something wrong. When we're people that are so wired for connection, you're like, oh, unless I'm surrounded by 100 people in relationship, the most popular person, there's something wrong with me. When you really are choosing yourself, you're choosing healthy relationships over toxic ones. You're choosing your own authenticity, your voice, and your truth. You are going to lose people in relationships, because for most of us, we've been prioritizing other people's comfort or experiences or energy over our own. And so it's actually a really, really good sign to feel lonely on your path. And also, I think about this, the world, a lot of people's life experiences, jobs, roles, the way people live, most people aren't happy. Most people aren't healthy. Most people aren't wealthy or spiritually connected or whatever. And no shade or blame. I've had that. I've struggled a lot in my life, but I don't want to be considered or in those same realms. And so it will mean that there's a smaller circle. It will mean that there's less people. It will mean that I'm doing weird things and I'm not hanging out at night or drinking or doing all this stuff. And that's good. Like sometimes what seems weird or odd, like you being in your car filming at that time, is like, oh, that's weird or odd. It's like, no, like this is how you build your dreams. This is how you help people. This is like the thing that's going to propel you forward. And so when we have those moments of feeling cringe or feeling weird or feeling off, it's like, just keep following and just keep listening and trusting. And we had to do that so much in the process. No one knew what we were doing. No one understood it. No one got it until they did. And then it was like, oh, duh. And it's like, we knew all along.
Until they did. But you knew all along. Something that's coming to mind now is talking about healing and self-love a little bit. Because I made a video recently, right? It's just very tried and true dating advice, a little bit cliche, but important nonetheless, right? Love yourself, develop that self-love, the connection with yourself, all that good stuff. And I made a video and I was like, I do love myself. Where's my person already? And I was getting some comments and DMs from that video where there are some flirties listening that are having a really difficult time with that advice, hearing it. And they're like, well, maybe I'm in the space where I'm finding that difficult to love myself. Or maybe I feel like I do. Like, I think sometimes we can fall into the trap of love yourself more, right? Heal more. I think a lot of us have heard, right? You have to be healed to be in a relationship. No, you don't. So speaking to that experience of self-love and healing a little bit, can we maybe go too far with that? Or maybe where is the balance?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up. I think this is such a real thing. Krista and I are in that health, wellness, spirituality space. And so we've tried it all. We've done it all. We talked about everything. And I've definitely been in seasons where I'm just doing the most as far as like the self-work goes and, have my supplement stack. And I'm like, where's my person? I'm doing all the right things. I'm taking all the right supplements. But what I found now being in a committed relationship, I'm married now, is that, to your point, you don't have to be perfect to be in a relationship. In fact, you won't be. So that expectation should probably dissolve sooner rather than later. But what I know now is that one of the greatest joys of being in a relationship is growing together. Doesn't mean you're working on the same things at the same time, but it means that I am able to feel safe, secure, and loved through really like crunchy seasons of my life where I'm growing. I'm wanting to be a better communicator.
Yeah.
And I'm moving through these moments, in front of my husband where I'm like trying to say what I feel without, bawling. And he is holding space. And he's working on his own thing. So what I've learned is like, if you don't have a relationship where you're able to grow through things and life is going to throw a lot of things at you, then I might ask you to evaluate the relationship and whether it does have the foundation of, you being able to be yourself and honest and feel seen and respected and honored through change. Because it's just been like my greatest joy. I thought it would be like the vacations we take and the house we buy and all these things. It's like, no, it is the moments where I'm like, I'm on my next level with you right now because we just went through that little fight and now we're able to like up-level our communication. And, it's just those moments that actually make your relationship so rich. And Krista and I have moved through these as well, so many of them. And I just, I think if you're able to do that, you got it. But we kind of had to swing so far in the other direction where we were doing all the work. We're like kind of using it as a currency of like, if I do this, then I get that. If I do ayahuasca and I see what life is about, then I'm going to be a millionaire. It's like all of these things that we were doing. And so we kind of had to swing back and simplify in order to see what was actually really important.
Yeah.
I have so much on the self-love. I was like fighting I do this when I'm like, when I need to remember stuff, but listen. So I'll be like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. So I had my, like, all my fingers were crossed in the self-love space. Oh my gosh. I think the belief that we have that's like, I love myself. Okay, where's my person? It's like, that's not why we love ourselves. We don't love ourselves so that we can be with someone else. We love ourselves because it's a joy and a pleasure and the gift of a lifetime to be in the experience of having a soul and a body. And so we know we're off track if that's what we're doing. I love myself. Why don't I get the job? I love myself. It is. That's not it. It's this. It's just, I love myself for the pleasure of being with myself and like knowing myself intimately and deeply. Yeah. And I think in the path of self-love, what I have found is that for so long, I was only loving myself if I was perfect, if I was thin, if my body looked a certain way, if everyone liked me, if I was successful, all of these things. Yeah. I had this list of all the reasons why I deserved to be loved. And then I had the list of all the reasons why I didn't deserve to be loved. And when I was checking all my boxes, I was like, you are good. This is, and that's not love. Yeah. And I remember in my divorce, I remember at the end being like, this is what I want to change about him. He needs to do these things. He needs to do these things. He needs to do these things. And I was like, I'm actually not loving him. If I'm wanting to change him inherently, I'm not loving him. And if I'm wanting to change myself and I'm not accepting myself, that's not love. All of us want to be loved in our fullness and our messiness and our grit. Yeah. And yet we don't do that to ourselves. And so for me, that means every single thought that I have is okay. So even when I'm like, oh, that person's a bitch, she sucks. Like, even if it's a not pleasant thought, I don't love that I think that, but it's okay. In my internal landscape, I have complete freedom and expression. And it doesn't mean it's my truth, but it means I don't I love, honor, and accept every thought, every feeling, every emotion. So there's nothing that's bad for me. Even if it feels gross or off or whatever, I accept it internally. And when we can have that full acceptance of ourselves and become a whole person, that's when we meet another whole person, because you want to be in a relationship with two whole people that need nothing from one another, but just can benefit and joy and like be in joy of relationship. But it's tough. I mean, I'd say the path to self-love is the hardest work. We think that building businesses is hard or whatever. It's like, no, the path to accepting yourself as you are when you don't want to is the toughest.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I say it's the journey from the head to the heart, right? Not a long journey. It's not a lot of space, but it's the journey of a lifetime, because there's a lot that is going to happen as you more so feel your way through life and through dating and relationships and flirting. And something you were just saying, that's like one of the things I wish I knew. One of the lessons I've learned is, let's say, example, you're dating someone and they come to you with, hey, I'm really struggling with this thing, or, oh, I have this self-doubt, this insecurity. And you will meet that, hopefully, with compassion. If it's just someone you're really looking to date and have a relationship with, it's going to be, wow, thank you so much for telling me that. Let's see how we can grow together, heal together, come to a solution, a compromise. But let's say that whole thing happens internally and you're struggling with something. You have a self-doubt, you have a fear. And if you're meeting that with this, oh my God, what's wrong with you? How could you be feeling this way? Right? You're not good enough is like my core emotional scar, we say in yoga, that comes up all the time. It's like, no, meet that. It's date yourself in a way if you want to.
Yes.
Yeah. The dating yourself is, I'm glad you said that. There's an aspect, I read about this in the book, where, I think we discount the relationship with ourselves and how that sets the tone for every other relationship that we have. And we've been talking about this throughout this conversation of just self-love and that relationship. But even if we know that, it's actually really hard to practice it. And so I always recommend, even when I was single, and I would literally have every single week dates for just me and me, where I would, go to a restaurant, sit at the bar, order myself dinner, put away my phone, and just be present. Didn't mean I didn't talk to people, but it was such a beautiful time for me to be in my own energy, to enjoy my own company, to work on that confidence piece of being out in the world and not having to default to looking at my phone or being with another person, just being really comfortable and present. And honestly, I had some of the most profound experiences doing that, whether it was like, talking to the bartender and learning something really profound, or even just being in silence and like enjoying my food, and how much of a spiritual experience that can be. I highly recommend people do that, whether they're dating, whether they're in relationship, or whether they are single right now and not dating. Because I think it's those moments that we're able to reconnect with how we really feel, what we really need, what's going on with us. Because oftentimes when we jump into a relationship, if you're anything like me, I would kind of like throw those things out the window. I'm like, so how about you?
Yeah.
Like, how can I support you? How can I be the best girlfriend to you? And I really had to have that consistent time with me in order to hold my center, no matter what relationship I was in.
Yeah. So good. Did I also hear maybe go flirt a little bit?
Oh yeah, flirt. Oh my God, so fun. I mean, the flirting,
Flirting is top tier living. I'm the banter baddie. I am like, I could banter with the best of them. So I'm all about flirting.
And I think flirting your whole life, even when you're in committed relationship, you still have to bring the energy of flirt into your everyday with your partner.
Yes.
Because life's going to life. It gets mundane. It gets kind of serious in ways, or unsexy, but like the flirt energy is so fun, so playful. It pulls people out of their minds and into their bodies and in their hearts. Yeah, I think the work you're doing is amazing.
Speaking to my soul, I say the flirt is the art, the style of connection. When it gets right down to it, I think, oh my gosh, this has absolutely flown by. I'm looking at the time. Final question, because I did tease it a few moments ago about the relationship with men. If we're dating the men's, how can we, maybe be more open to that experience, but still have very clear, strong, boundaries, standards, all that good stuff too?
I think for me, what's been really helpful is being friends with men and becoming friends with men that are platonic. And before, because I was in long-term relationship, I was only approaching men as I'm dating you, or like, we're not even engaging. Like, it's like, I kind of was in this, and I wasn't able to metabolize men's energy in a way of allowing it to unfold or be playful. And so being friends with men, I have so many men in my life that are my friends, has been so beautiful because I can see the good in them. I can feel safe around them. I can trust them. I'm able to open up to them, and I'm metabolizing more and more masculine energy in a really safe way. That's been so healing for me and so comfortable for me. And it's really helping me move up the scale closer to my man and my partner.
Okay.
I think before, when I would go from 0 to 100, it was just a lot. It was like, I don't know this person. You're my everything, da, 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 da. And now I'm like, okay, we're building into friendship, or we're building into deeper connection. And so I would just offer that having friends in your life and having male figures in your life that you trust and feel safe with and connect with. Even my best friend, Joey, is like, you know, one of my best friends, he's gay, but it's like even metabolizing his masculine energy, and like him in my life has been so healing for me. So getting as many men in your life that you trust and feel safe around to show you that it's possible and to show you aspects of what you want in a partner, I think can be really helpful.
And I think it's been important both for Krista and myself over the years to recognize when we are kind of leading with our own masculine energy.
Yeah.
As people who have built a business and, you know, just been self-starters in so many seasons of our lives, I think it's easy to be the initiator, and it's easy to, you know, want to control things and, you know, any other aspect of the masculine that might manifest. And I had to really make it a practice to soften, to lean back. And oftentimes, like, yes, I would try to practice it in the moment with my partner or with people that I was dating. But I had to kind of cultivate this practice on my own first to know what it felt like. So that might look like, you know, being in like a really juicy dance class and just kind of like being in my body in a really soft, sensual way. Because oftentimes I was doing like a million HIIT classes a week, HIIT workouts, which are like so dang masculine. And for a time it was amazing, but it disconnected me from that like very soft feminine part of me. So any way in which you can kind of access that softness, that flow, that ease, I would encourage people to, no matter what gender you are, because I think we could all really benefit from bringing that forward. And then in relationship, I'm able to recognize like a bit more when I am, you know, kind of leading with more of that masculine and when I'm leading with the feminine. And it's a balance, right? I think, you know, there will be a dance between you and your partner depending on what each other's going through or the time of day or the time of week. Like it's kind of a fun dance to do, but I definitely was leading with my masculine for a long time. So I had to work more on my feminine.
That's so helpful and so interesting, because I've really started to get more into masculine, feminine energy dynamics on Flirtations and my content. It's something I feel like as a gay guy, I didn't understand for the longest time, but now I so see the value in it and how, it's the just concept of duality. We both have each energy, right? All genders have both energies within us. And it's just about how does that manifest? How do we connect to ourselves? How does that show up in dating? Like Lindsey, what you were talking about earlier, it's like this experience of kind of being quote unquote too much. Like, no, you get to have needs. You get to ask questions. You get to communicate and express yourself in dating. But then also, as we were talking about receiving, you get to receive the love, the connection, the consideration, the chemistry, all that good stuff you're looking for without like always being in your masculine of do this, don't do that. I need this, right? Just constantly asking question. Oop, no, you want to receive that good love too. Yeah. Totally. Oh my gosh, this was so fast, so amazing. Lindsey and Krista, thank you just immensely for being on Flirtations today. I want to send the Flirties to the Almost 30 podcast, to your socials, the book. It is out June 3rd. Yes, I'll have all the links in the show notes below. But yeah, for these last couple moments, where can they find you?
It was so good. Thank you so much for just sharing your heart and your purpose and like your gifts with the world. Like it's just, I know how hard it is to struggle with mental health and then create a business and life you love and live in that kind of, and so I really honor you, in this process and just serving people in the way that you do in such a unique way. And it was so much fun to talk. If you're ever in LA, let me know. Would love to see you. And the book is out June 3rd, and it's really like a spiritual guidebook to adulting. It's for people that feel lost but want to live a life that they love. And it's every single thing I wish I would have known, in the process of creating this life that I live now that I really love. So I'm excited for people to get it. And then Almost 30 podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm on Instagram at It's Krista, and I do retreats and I work with women as like a coach. So if you're interested in more self-love stuff, you can find that there.
Awesome.
And I'm Lindsey Simsick on Instagram. Yeah, this has been just so amazing, Benji. And yeah, I feel like the topic of dating is such a big one now in our community as well. So I know a lot of girls would be headed over your way to learn from you. So thank you again. And thank you all for listening. Nice to meet you.
Be there. Yes, be there for them, for all the Flirties, new and
old. Love the Flirties.
With flirting and dating. Krista and Lindsey, thank you again so much for being on Flirtations today.
Thank you.
All right, Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the dating advice I wish I knew episode of the program. Thank you so much to Lindsey Simsick and Krista Williams for coming on the show today. Their new book, Almost 30, is out wherever you download, buy, listen to, stream books. It's there for you. Their podcast, Almost 30, out as well. Been out, to be quite honest. I told you at the beginning, over 100 million downloads thus far. That's a lot of zeros, y'all. Lots of resources, episodes, and of course the book there for you. Definitely check all of the above out. Thank you, Lindsey and Krista, for coming on the show today and just sharing so much vulnerability with us. That was one of my biggest takeaways, some nuggets of wisdom, some new insights, lessons learned, so much goodness in this episode. I really hope you enjoyed listening back through it as much as I enjoyed recording it and bringing it to you. So yeah, thank you, Krista and Lindsey. And thank you to you, the Flirties, for listening, for tuning in, for streaming wherever you may be in the world. None of this would be possible. Stumbling over my words would be possible without you. Indeed, couldn't do this without you. It's all for you. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. If you haven't, 5 stars. Would love you for it. And then share this episode or another favorite episode of Flirtations with a friend, someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with. I would appreciate you for that as well. Have I said all my things? I think I have. Signing off officially here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and Gay Libra Flirty. Happy flirting.